protesting to protect the environment.
We are on a peaceful voyage in order to protest against the threat to the planet.
Authorities claiming their actions endangered the oil rig's crew.
30 of them from 18 different countries were all now in jail waiting for their fate.
Tonight in Planet ER, when will this American hero, you saw him walk by right there, that guy, see freedom? He's Captain Peter Wilcox, one of the heroic and courageous Greenpeace activists granted bail after being harassed, handcuffed, and thrown in dank, cold Russian prison cells 2 months ago. They've been sitting in prison for 2 months after protesting a Russian-owned oil rig operating in the Arctic Sea. Russian courts announced today they would begin granting bail for some of the other 28 activists and 2 journalists known as the Arctic 30, including our buddy, Captain Peter Wilcox, who hails from Connecticut. We're going to talk to his wife in just a second. 2 months ago, Greenpeace set out on a ship to peacefully protest a Russian state-owned oil rig they say is extremely dangerous to the environment because it's sitting in a sealed-off area of the ocean. Any kind of spill would get trapped, causing immense damage to wildlife. The activists sailed near the oil rig in inflatable boats, tried to climb aboard to raise a banner. That's when Russian authorities began spraying them with high-pressure water blasts and firing warning shots. Russian authorities claim the activists endangered the crew on the oil rig. Greenpeace says they were unfairly arrested in international waters. Russia was denounced around the world for doing all of that. And that may be why they released some of these activists and granted bail for others. All 30 members who were aboard the ship called the Arctic Sunrise still face charges of hooliganism in Russia. That carries up to 7 years in prison. Straight out to the executive director of Greenpeace U.S., Phil Radford. Phil, Greenpeace has posted bail, but what happens to these people now? These people are from Americans, they're from Europe, they're all over the world. Do they have to stay in Russia until they face trial?
We don't know yet. But the conditions of the bail aren't clear. What is clear is that bail is very rare in Russia. And so the activists are receiving treatment that they should. And what's really clear is that they did not commit a crime. They deserve to be home with their families. And the Russian government should spend time thinking about protecting our environment and not imprisoning innocent people.
Well, Russia is going backwards on a whole bunch of issues, including gay rights. And so this doesn't surprise me, but it really upsets me that when you are protesting in international waters, you can be hauled in and stuck in a prison cell for 2 months. We don't know what's going to happen to these people. I mean, this has been horrifying. I want to bring in my very special guest, Maggie Wilcox. You are the wife of the captain of this ship, Peter Wilcox. He captained the Greenpeace ship. He's behind bars right now. What are you going through emotionally as this drags into beyond its second month?
Well, I have to say I was thrilled to actually be able to see my husband on the courtroom video. That just made my month. But, you know, I'm relieved and I'm grateful that his living conditions are about to improve. But this isn't over yet by a long stretch.
Are you scared that he might end up behind bars in Russia, which has notorious prisons, for up to 7 years?
Of course I am.
I mean, how is that affecting your day-to-day life?
It's, you know, as you might imagine, it's been a roller coaster. But I know Peter needs his family to stay strong, so that's what we're doing.
Phil Radford of Greenpeace, has this boomeranged on Russia? I mean, Greenpeace wanted to draw attention to the environmental destruction that is connected to climate change, which, of course, we have these devastating, the typhoon in the Philippines, the tornadoes in the Midwest. People are starting to get the idea that, yeah, it's for reals and it's going to affect me. And by arresting your people, have they brought the world's attention to exactly the point that you wanted to make?
I think it has. I think there's nothing more embarrassing than being this heavy-handed right before the Olympics for Russia. And what has happened is leaders like Hillary Clinton have said this is outrageous, there should be more public outrage, and world governments should work together to regulate drilling, overfishing, and other extraction in the Arctic. So what Peter took this risk for is actually paying off. But the truth is he doesn't deserve this. He should be freed today.
And let me tell you something. One of the reasons why Greenpeace does what it does, one of the reasons I've been a longtime Greenpeace member, is because the big countries are not doing what they should be doing. They failed on the Kyoto Protocol. There has been basically no movement in terms of a global agreement between developed nations and developing nations to cut greenhouse gases, to cut the emissions. Our waters are getting warmer, the Arctic caps are melting, and you're seeing the results in the storms that are covered on the news every single day. These people are trying to save your property and your lives. There is a connection. We've got to support them. Thank you, Greenpeace. Carry on.